I think we wanted to get started by just doing a little intro of ourselves. Kim, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So I'll start. My name is Leslie Hegewald. I'm the GIS coordinator here at COG, and I've been here for 28.5 years, started in 1994. I've been working with GIS for almost 31 years. And as the GIS coordinator, I work directly on projects with members, and additionally as the coordinator, I coordinate things like contracts and budgets and schedules and things like that.
Okay. Great. I'm Kim Sapinar, and I have been with the Council of Government going on 17 years. And I've also been in the world of GIS for 30 years plus at this point. So I do quite a bit of work in the transportation department in terms of some of the applications that are done for our outreach, but have a wide background in terms of— I sent it before my— a wide background just in terms of different applications and sort of different uses. I have, as an academic background, I have a master's in planning, sometimes very helpful in terms of working with other planners. So, thank you.
I guess I'm next. Juan Carlos Torres. I've been with COG since about 2000 and about 30 years of GIS and remote sensing experience. I graduated from Oregon State with a master's in GIS and remote sensing, work in the private sector, and then I moved into working with COG in 2000. I specialize in mostly in application development, although I do some of the GIS analysis also and some of the IT management. So I'm part of this wonderful team here. We have like over 100 years of experience. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
So
I'm going to take this first section and just talk to you a little bit about maps and web app applications that we can offer. Next slide. So obviously kind of one of the foundational things that we do is creating maps, and we create all kinds of different maps, zoning, transportation, natural resources, utilities, you name it. And we can actually print large scale maps on our 44-inch wide plotter, which you can probably see a little bit in the background. And we have access to a very wide range of GIS data. We have very well-established networks of local and state resources that we can access data from. And we can really just customize the work to the client's needs. So next slide. So spatial data analysis is another thing that we can do. This would be more advanced analysis options such as buffer analysis. That map on the left is one that I just worked on for the city of Amity for their work session on marijuana and psilocybin policies. We also have distance analysis. The map on the right would be a half-mile walk zone from bus routes, and intersect analysis, which was used in a needs analysis for the Boys and Girls Club. Next slide. And then we can also do custom data analyses and reports, and these are a few that we've worked on over the years. Next slide. And then the most recent addition to our range of services is doing online web maps and applications. And these would be interactive maps that are easily accessible online. And we've done these for several of our members, and they're very popular. So I'm going to demonstrate a few of those.
Yes, I'll go ahead.
Bear with me while I I lost my Zoom window here, sorry. Okay, share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so this first application I'm going to demonstrate is a web map application that we created for the city of Sheridan. And this is just kind of a general sort of a planning map. This is available to the public as well as used in-house in the city to answer questions from the public, such as, people might call and ask, what's the zoning of this property, or is this property in the floodplain? Those questions are easily answered with this map. So these are developed. These can take a couple or a few days to develop, and once they're developed, it's just maintenance, and so it's pretty easy and fast to get going. So this one, you'll see it starts with a little splash screen, and with this map, you've got your typical navigation tools. You can zoom and pan. You can see when you zoom in, you can see the addresses. You can pan the map around. You can search for a property based on address, tax lot number, or account number. Over in the menu, which I'm having trouble seeing because you have your legend, you have a layer list, and then you can see that you can turn on some additional layers, such as the floodplain, which is important in Sheridan because there's a lot of it, the floodway, and wetlands. This tab is an information on how to use the map, so there's instructions there. You can change your base map if you wanted to, for instance, see aerial imagery, the base map gallery. You can choose that. And then you have a measure tool and a print tool where you can actually download a PDF map and print it. Close that. You can open up the attribute table and see the attributes for the tax lot properties. You can zoom in and click on a property and you'll get a pop-up with information. There's actually two layers that you can look at here. You can look at the tax lots, and then if you click this arrow, it goes over to the zoning information. And then with the table, so there's a select tool. You can select properties. Do that. And then if you open up the table, you can show just those selected records. And then if you want to, you can export those to a CSV. So that is the Turner or the Sheridan application. The next one I'm going to show is, this one is for the city of Turner, and this is a utility map. And this one is a little bit unique for Turner because the city of Salem maintains a lot of their utility data. So most of what you see is from the city of Salem. And one thing you need to know about ArcGIS Online, which is the platform this is developed on, is that it limits the number of features that you can see at any one time. So some of the data you won't see until you zoom into a certain level. But this is built on the same platform as the last one. You've got your legend and layer list. You can see on the layer list that there's a lot of layers here. And so these are all the utility layers. There's PGE, there's sewer, storm, and water. So when you zoom in, you can start to see some of those layers. And then if you click on them, you'll get the little pop-up with the information. And the table is just the tax lot information. So you can actually get information on the tax lots as well. So most of the layers are turned off by default just because of that issue with not being able to display them all at once. But once you start turning them on and zooming in, you can see more of those layers. Okay, this one was developed for the city of Dayton earlier this year. They had a grant that they were going to use for something else, and then they didn't get around to doing that. So this was another thing that they were able to do with those grant funds, and that was to create an online historic properties website. So we've got a little disclaimer here. So these are the historic properties symbolized by property type. And then this dashed line is a walking tour route. And when you zoom in, you can see the labels for the historic properties. And if you click on one, you get the little pop-up. And then there are links here that you can click on. If you click this link, it will go to the National Park Services and you can look at the actual historic property record. And if you click on this link for the image, it will take you to a current photo of the property. So that's kind of fun. And then the last one I'm going to show, this is something that I created for my own use because we do some work for the city of Dundee, and a couple times a month at least, they will ask me for a notification mailing list, which is you take a property and then you have a certain buffer distance and you need to send notifications to those properties. So this makes it really quick and easy. There's this little widget that's called a notification, public notification. And you can either input a tax lot number or a situs address. So I'm going to use a tax lot number. Excuse me. You can see as I'm typing, it's giving you a list of candidates. And so you just select the candidate that you want, and it zooms right to that property. So let me back out of here a little bit. You can apply a search distance, and it will create the buffer and select the properties that are within that distance. And so I'm going to change this to 100 feet. So once you have your property selected, you can hit download, and it creates a CSV file with all of the address components that you need to do that mailing. Literally takes under a minute to do that. So that is what I have.
Great. Terrific. We'll go here to a next slide. I'm going to give just a short example of some of the applications and widgets that we've used for doing some public participation, some public outreach, and also getting feedback, methods for getting feedback. As you've seen from Leslie's examples, we are really good at creating data and making these maps and being able to kind of do these sort of an analysis, either an analysis or kind of present that information. And sometimes we need to take that map and, you know, get it out to the public and get some feedback that comes back on it. And I have basically four examples of things that we've been using pretty regularly. We've been using surveys, maps to capture comments, virtual open houses, and what we call hub sites. And I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of each of those. My first example with surveys, I just have some screenshots here to kind of show you. Here's an example of a survey that we did earlier this year in the spring. We put a 6 to 7 question survey on getting feedback from transportation concerns and priorities for the public. And it's a straightforward survey widget that we can create, and it has a great deal of flexibility. This is just showing the first question. What are the challenges that you face in your day-to-day travel? You can create them with checkboxes or multiple choice or open-ended questions. And you can even give a series of values and have whoever is using the survey rank them and put them in the order of their importance. It is similar to what you might be doing with something like, for example, you could do in SurveyMonkey, but because it's done through our Esri products, we can embed it and we can use it in a lot of the other features and widgets that we wind up using, which I'll show in just a bit. What I think is very important is that we can create them in multiple languages effortlessly. And you can have a little drop-down menu at the top of your survey when people arrive so they can pick the language of their choice that they want to answer in. And what that does is it allows you to take all of the results and they're all then commingled. It's not as if you need to have one survey that's done in English and one that's done in Spanish or one that's done in Russian, but all of the results are integrated into a final report. It also lets us show a behind the scenes dashboard so that if we needed to track and monitor how many responses are coming in or when they're coming in, or even kind of from where they're coming in, it's something that's kind of done behind the scenes. And we're able to kind of generate really sort of easy to read reports that come back out on what those survey results wind up showing. So including a very detailed level or just sort of a summary level of if you wanted to see every open-ended comment that was included, that can also be produced. Oh, here, and then I'm going to go ahead and also stop sharing this here and let me share. I have a few interactive options to show. So here's an example of what we do with a map that we put up to bring in public comment. And so same thing, similarly, we can have a little splash screen. This is an optional choice that has more information, but the map would pop up. This was one that we used also in the spring. We were looking at our transportation improvement program has a series of draft projects, and we want feedback from the public on what they think and where things, what they like, what they don't like, what they might think. So you can zoom in and we'll just click on, for example, this project here that was on Hollywood. A little quick menu pops up on the side that gives you a description of what the project is and might have a little tiny embedded picture. But similarly, you can click on a more information link that would provide, this is actually a copy of the PDF of the application. And so you've got more detailed information that would be available. Similarly, as Leslie was showing, you could pop up into pictures or you can pop up into another website link, but it's also often very useful to pop up into another PDF that's got more information. And you'll see along the side, you can go ahead and you can vote on the item by clicking it with a heart, and it would vote, you would indicate your tally of whether you'd like something or not. And if you wanted to leave a comment, it would pop up into fields that you could enter your open-ended comment. You can include your name, phone number, address, and it will automatically log it with the date and the time, and you can submit it. Those are all optional. Sometimes we put out a comment map and we just have people give us their comment, but it's optional whether they put their name or address, depending on people may not want to share that. They'd like to comment anonymously, and you can allow that if you'd like to. And what you wind up doing is, again, kind of behind the scenes, we wind up with a sort of a scrolling spreadsheet that has all of the comments and all the information, whether or not it's displayed back and forth. That can be exported and summarized and kind of linked back to how many votes or likes that a feature would wind up getting. I have another example. Similarly, this is one we've just had going. We have a number. Here's a map that had 260 projects on the map. There was a lot of information. Here's one that's just highlighted. It's a potential bikeway that would be one of the projects that might go into the long range plan. And you can see along the side here, again, more information about it, a description, the location, what this cost was. And in this case, you could see where the comments that somebody else had left were summarized, and you could see what other people had commented. That's simply also something that can be toggled. Sometimes people like to see what comments are out there before they put comments or not. So that's an option. This is a similar commenting type of map that we did for the Wheatland Road design study. Same thing, a little splash screen can come up giving you some more information about it. And in this case, this was a study area that ran along Wheatland Road that was in north end of Kaiser. And we created a little menu that allowed the user to go ahead and drop a pin or a point on the map when they had something that they wanted to report or they were concerned about. And so it popped up and it said, submit a report, and it gave you an option of some drop-down list here. Was it a dangerous crosswalk? Was it dangerous for bikes? Was there a missing sidewalk? or lighting. This was something that was constructed sort of behind the scenes and populated, or you could put other. So you could choose a particular type that you wanted to indicate. You could put additional information as necessary. And you could even attach a picture if you wanted to, or you could use this because it was a mobile device. You could use it on your phone, and you could actually just, if your GPS was enabled, you could drop a location of where something was located, and you could go through and say, okay, I would like to click here on this part of the map, and then I would report it. Oh, see, I haven't done I didn't fill in all of my values, but you could go ahead and drop your value along here. And so it was a way of sort of gathering from the public where they thought areas of concern were located. And this kind of tool can be used. So if you were, let's say you were reporting, they're used often with public works facilities where there maybe is something that needs to be repaired, or if you've seen it in inventorying where graffiti is located, and not just to think about locating where something might be an issue or a concern to be reported, but you could have, for example, a location of a city park, and you could ask the public where they wanted to install picnic benches, and something that would basically grab from the public where they think something might go or want to go, or they think is an issue or a concern. So it has that sort of integrated component. I think if you think about commenting maps, very often you can provide them when you've got a sort of a list of potential ideas or projects, like we saw with the transportation projects, but you could also have just maybe a single feature and just use it because you'd like people to inform people where it would be located, and then provide comment back to them. Or even if you had something that were potential changes in districts and boundaries, and both Leslie and I did redistricting earlier this year and provided alternatives of district maps, and then you could view one alternative to the next to the third, and you could comment and leave information on which ones that you thought were of the most interest or that you liked best. A third example I have are what we call story maps. And these are really kind of a wrapper for some of the pieces of information that we already talked about. We might have a map, we might have just an informational map, or a comment map, or a survey. And this was an example that actually we put into place when COVID hit, and we needed to basically create the equivalent of an online or a virtual open house. And our transportation improvement program was open for public comment. And here's a little scrolling widget that allowed us to kind of give a quick, what is a transportation improvement program, with a little overview, and kind of stepping through this for the equivalent of if you had a room of people who'd come in and you had maybe poster boards to explain what you were doing. We're explaining what was the process, what was in the tip. And what this little scrolling widget allows us to do is, for example, you could embed a video if you have a video. And this was one that we pulled off of YouTube that explains ODOT's transportation process. A little subsets of information we had, how the funding was distributed in this example, funding for different programs, for transit, for programs, and a funding for bike and ped products and projects, and then kind of scrolled them along. And as we came through kind of giving an overview of what the basics of the program was, here was a step into where could I get more information? So we had links to our entire document that was located on our website, or a PDF version of the brochure that was shown here, and a Spanish version of the brochure. And then we were asking in this case for more input. So we had another embedded commenting map that was right here at the tail end of this sort of visual dialogue of information. And people could go through then here, click on this, and then leave us comments directly on the projects that were reflected in this overall plan. And of course, we always like to include a phone number and an email for you could always pick up the phone, you could always email to kind of get that sort of feedback back to us. One of the things that's nice about these encapsulated story maps is that they can be linked or embedded in a website, but they could be included in an email that's outreach. And that's what we wound up doing, is emailing to an interested parties list and having this embedded more information here that kind of gave a whole cascade. I have and then if we'd like even maybe a bit more information, we also have what we call hub sites or information hub sites. And I have 3 examples of hubs that we've put together. This is one that's right at the moment is sort of a placeholder for us. We were looking at safety in transportation planning, and it's really sort of an encompassed single web page, but allows again to kind of best incorporate these other pieces that we wind up using in GIS. So we have a public, this example gives us a link to a public input map, so showing us a safety concern. We could embed that existing survey that I talked about first off. It could be right here and you could click through. This is talking a little bit about where we have safety data, and these are little links that go straight to either another website or a report that's available. 5-year crash trends that have been summarized and have been put into spreadsheets or PDF files. Some examples of other safety projects, what they might be. And this was an outside map that popped up to say, here just a second, some examples of what other safety projects are in the area, kind of associated with a picture. You could see where something might be located and where they've gone in under different categories for pedestrians, motorized vehicles, and things that were under construction. So we can pop out. This is actually a link in this window. I won't open it just yet, but into another data set that is provided actually by the state. So we could link to their information that's on a website outside. And then just other information that we provide within our organization that might be relevant to the process. So and then finally, yet another embedded video link that's actually hosted on YouTube. One of the advantages to a little program like this is that you can start people with start them off on your process by providing some of that information you're most interested in. We're starting a safety plan. Here's what we're looking for, and we're looking for input. But we have multiple layers of additional information. So somebody could spend as much time on this site as they'd like. They could link to other data sets that are available, or more complicated information that we have, or further reports in more detail. So that's an example of one that was used for sort of safety planning. We've done this ourselves with our own GIS services. It gives us an opportunity to kind of showcase what the information we do. And in particular, this is a nice tool for us because so much of our work results in a new map. So many of these are links to our existing maps that we're already creating, residential permits. This is the date and historical properties that Leslie just demoed for you. But if we have other customized applications, and we even have PDFs or other reports that have been created. So we've used this as a bit of a showcase, again, with an embedded video that provides a little bit more information, and including our bios and information. And our final hub site that I want to show is, they kind of call them hubs because they wind up being an information hub or an information portal. This is one we're currently using, and this one has, whereas the first two were essentially a single page, this one actually has a menu, a sort of traditional website menu across the top. We do an extra page for long-range planning, our short-range planning, congestion management, community profile. So in this regard, we have even more information we'd like to point to, but they can be kind of chosen to look at with additional pages. We've used this as a landing page for soliciting a fair amount of public input. We included the survey that I showed earlier in the beginning of the year. We've just done this comment now map for our long range plan. It's a link right here that would open into a new window. Gives you a little bit of a pointer about learning about the short range and the long range plan. Same thing, if you needed to know more information about who we are as an organization, this is an opportunity to click and to open into another venue. Anyone who is familiar with our transportation planning knows that we're a large organization that has a lot of moving parts. And so this gives more information about who we work with, where the money comes from, why we're set up to work the way that we do. In this case, we have the links to our two main committees that meet. So you can click onto this and see their agendas, the next meeting schedule, and what they'll be doing. So it winds up being able to be a composite for as much or as little information as you like. And then at the bottom, we have actually a widget that we have from our MailChimp, how to sign up and get more information. So we've just embedded that. If you're already using something that's an outside piece of technology like MailChimp, we do the same. This is a way to get people to sign up directly for updates all in one location. So a lot of those examples, especially the last two, the story map and the hub, I think that are very applicable for a lot of the kind of outreach that cities and counties do. If you have a new long range plan, if you had a parks master plan, if you had an update or in which you a land use study in which you've come up with different alternatives and you'd like to get the word out. They wind up being a nice composite of a summary set of information and then also a good landing page for being able to solicit feedback and comment, whether it be through a survey or through one of these maps that you could comment, or even for people to allow them to download the information that you have summarized on the website too. So those are the four that I was going to share. Stop sharing this here.
I'm assuming I'm next.
Yes, you are next, and I'll give you your slide.
Okay, so next slide.
Custom applications.
Yeah, a lot of these tasks that I complete at COG have to do with custom applications. They can be mobile or web-based applications. I'm going to briefly talk about a couple of them here. The first one is butterfly protection application. I think that's the way we name it. And a couple of years ago, Yamhill County Public Works approached us because they had a special issue. They have a grass cutting and spraying crews going along highways, freeways, streets, and there are some protected areas there for fender blue butterflies and also monarch butterflies. And those are protected species, very sensitive to habitat disturbances. And the crew was having trouble because they needed to take paper maps to the field. You probably can imagine people driving and trying to see what protected area is from a paper map. So anyway, we came up with the idea of developing an application to track the vehicles in real time. So, and highlight those protected areas and get some type of a warning as the vehicles approach those areas and also as they leave the areas. So I developed this application to do that. And as the vehicle is driving along the road, there is a dot showing where the vehicle is, and as they approach the area, there is a flashing screen, and they stop the cutting or the spraying, and it continues like that. And then also we added a capability to highlight invasive species areas where additional spraying is needed, and also they need to clean and disinfect the equipment before they continue, so they don't spread the invasive species to the other areas. Initially, it was just a viewing application. It worked great. They were using iPads and mobile phones, and later they said, well, we can probably expand this, and now it's also a collecting application. They can go and collect additional areas, create attributes, feed the database, and then go back to the office and update the maps. So it's been a successful application. I think that you can probably see some of the fields here, no broaching, mowing, or spraying. So anyway, so it's three different applications based on no broaching, mowing, and areas that need to be where the equipment needs to be clean. The next application was developed for, I think it's Marion Soil and Water Conservation District. And they have people on the field collecting land use data. So I developed the app, pre-populated the field, so there's no confusion as far as the database fields and the data that goes inside each of those fields. And yeah, it's been great for them. They go to the field, collect data, come back to the office, create maps, and they seem to be happy with it. Next slide, please. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't demo those on real time because you need to be in the field to be able to see that. These are a couple of samples here of some of the more custom applications. The first one is the Salem Kaiser School Finder. This application, let me see if I can. Well, I will demo it after this. I started developing this one, I think, in about 2001. Then the Esri engine was called ArcIMS. Later, it was changed to .NET, and now it's a ArcGIS server application. So it allows the users to locate schools, determine school assignments, and internally it's used by the school district to plan new schools, boundary changes, and also to plan routes and stops. The one on the right is one of 3 custom applications for Yamhill County assessor, and allows to display data, cadastral data, different layers, and also do searches based on accounts, tax numbers. And it's 3 of them. One is for surveys, the other one is for tax lots, and one that is for the public, where some of the fields are limited because there's some privacy limitations that they don't want the owner's name and other private data to be displayed. And the last one, okay, next slide. Yeah, it's part of the, do you have another slide though? Yeah, and next one, and I'm gonna just highlight this one. We're currently assisting Yamhill County, moving their GIS data or their GIS infrastructure to the Amazon cloud, and to support what they call the parcel fabric. So they are migrating all their tax lot cadastral data to the cloud. So this it can be used by desktop, mobile applications, and also be accessible to the public. So they are cataloging and displaying all their GIS data, make it accessible for internal and external use. So our role in this was to architect the whole setup on the cloud. We have database servers, publishing servers, ArcGIS servers, and all of those components need to talk among them, and then also be secure, and also managing the users, the user access, if it's member of the public, or different levels of security. So we've been working with that. Now, do we have another slide? I'm sorry. I don't think I can hear you.
I have just a list of our demos.
Okay, so
would you like to? I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, let me see if I can demo something here really quick. So the one that I want to show, I think it's this one here. Yeah, I'm gonna, let's see, probably start with the Salem Kaiser School Finder. As I said, this one, let me move this here. The first version was developed in 2001. When developing web maps was something that was really new, and not many places were doing that. And the main task is to determine school assignments. Let me see how High Street. I have a Salem address here. And it's a simple application, but basically tells you what the school based on the address. In this case, I have I think this is the old COG address here, and easily display what the school is. So it's used by the public a lot, but it's also use internally at the school district because people keep calling them. Okay, what school is assigned to my, to my kids, and also allows for searching the boundaries. So you can select one of the schools and it will show you the boundary. So it's a kind of a simple application, but it's been used for over 20 years and still going. So the next one, let me see if I can show you this one. It's one of the cadastral custom applications for Yamhill County. I'm gonna zoom here and do a quick search here. Gonna do a graphic search here. So if you click in one of the tax lots, it will give you all the information that the county has for that tax lot. You can also do a search by tax lot if you know the tax lot number, if you know the account number, and you come here and then it hyperlinks to tax lot maps that people can print. So, oh, my light is going up here. It also has the typical, layers, legend, different layers that you can turn on and off. And there's a lot of data here. And the difference between this and what you normally can develop in ArcGIS Online is there's more customization here. You can add additional tools and, make it suit your special needs here. So you're not limited with what Esri is giving you. So you have additional capabilities here. And last, let me see if I can show you something. Oh, and this is part of what I was talking about, the ArcGIS Enterprise assistance to Yamhill County. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff behind this. GIS servers, database servers, other servers just to store the data, and the capability of published geographic services that can be consumed by mobile and desktop applications, and also a portal to the public, and data cataloging, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we can assist any county, city with this capability. So we're available for that. Did I miss anything, Leslie? Or
I think you're good.
Yep, I think you're good.
So many technical stuff. I don't want to overwhelm people with geek stuff here. I think that concludes my participation here. So Leslie probably has some.
I'll just go ahead and pop up. We have just 2 quick informational slides.
Okay.
Yeah, so Juan Carlos, you need to stop sharing. Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, yeah.
I bumped him.
Okay. Yeah, so these are links to most of the demos that we have shown today. And I know there's a lot of information here, but we are recording this presentation. So if you want to get these links later, you can come back to the presentation and do that. And then the next slide. You can also go to our website, on the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments website, and the GIS programs. And if you click on the recent projects, this will take you to our ArcHub site that Kim showed earlier. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page, you can find our email and contact information for all 3 of us. So I think we can take any questions. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone has any questions that they want to ask us now, that'd be the opportunity.
We can go back to. Sure.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes,
sure.
I'm John Barnes, a GIS specialist for the city of McMinnville. Where do you guys get all your data? Do you get it from your members, or do you have people in-house that are developing a lot of your data?
So it really just depends on the project and the client. Like I said before, we have a lot of different local and state contacts where we can get, base data, natural resources, transportation, that sort of thing. But we do develop data. So for example, if I'm working with the city and doing their zoning map, then I'm creating that data for them. So yes, we kind of do both.
Okay.
And we can also aggregate public domain data. That's like in those applications, there's a lot of backdrop data like satellite imagery, orthophotos, and from different sources. Yeah, flood data.
But you don't keep a separate database for like tax lots, that type of thing. You get tax lot data from like Yamhill County or Marion County, and
we don't maintain it, but we have access to it. We get monthly updates on
monthly downloads. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
We've got a question in the chat. Do you contract with cities for both program management and project specific services? Yeah, I mean, our services that are available to our members, I mean, they're customizable to what your needs are. So that's just kind of a unique conversation that we have to have with each client and see what they need and assess, what we can do to assist them. So yes, definitely.
Yeah, and we're also available to do on-site assistance. We do if needed, so we can do it here or go to your office.
Other questions? And if you think of something later, like I said, you can find our email addresses and feel free to contact us later, and we can answer any questions you have, or if you want to talk more about any specific needs, then we are definitely available to do that.
And there are a lot of saving benefits of going through us. It's much cheaper than going through outside consultants, and you get a whole team here, the people who know how to do things.
Right.
Like you have a question in the chat. A new question.
Have you merged the state Excel data with GIS? I am not familiar with that.
So that's from me, Heather Richards, with the city of McMinnville. So the state uses Acela as a software program for building permits and land use permits, and it's property specific. And the intention behind it is that it should merge with a GIS to be able to map out that permit data. The state has customized it in Oregon, so I'm not certain how much of it merges with GIS data or not. So I was wondering if you have had that experience with other communities.
We have not, but we're open to learning about new things. So.
I would add that Leslie has tracked building permits for 25 years, as we all have residential for the Salem-Keizer area. And we've worked with the city of Salem, Marion County, Polk County, because that data has come into various conduits and then merged them to kind of cover the geography that we've represented for the school district. And they can be geocoded. Even when oftentimes geocoding hits a snag when it's a brand new address, and the house is being built, may not actually have the address, but we can work around that. Great. All right.
Okay, well, again, we are recording this, so you can always go back to it later if you need to, and feel free to contact us with any questions or if you want to further discuss potential services.
Thanks for your time.
Yep. Thank you very much for attending.